Hi, I'm James, a photographer and online media personality in Atlanta, Georgia. This show is my way of sharing some of my favorite home cooking tips to eating restaurant quality meals on a tight budget through recipes I've learned in my travels and also my West African and Southern American roots. This is The Counter. Good afternoon. My name is James K. Holder II. Some of you may know me as Sir James II. I'd like to welcome you back to The Counter. Today I'm doing a more specific demo with how to make stovetop espresso and using that in some of your favorite drinks that you might find at popular restaurant chains such as Starbucks. And I think most people are very intimidated to attempt to do some of these recipes at home because you think you need all of these fancy, high-end espresso makers and heavy machinery, but I'm going to show you how to do it with basic kitchen utensils. The first and most important thing that we're going to need for today's demo is our Mocha Pot espresso maker. The first thing we want to do is start with our chamber. We want to fill it with cool water, filtered of course, right up until this exhaust valve right there. One cool thing about these is that they're very affordable and readily available at most stores. Today I'm using a dark roast. I'm going to set this to grind, put on my apron. Just going to take a spoon, a little scoop here, and use it to fill this chamber. Now, just before it reaches the top, I have a little trick that I like to do. I like to sprinkle just a little bit of cinnamon to add more flavor and body into this. I'm very big about sugar reduction, not necessarily adding sugar. So when you instead add like something, a sweet, reminiscent flavor, like cinnamon inside of your actual coffee grounds, it really gives an aroma that's sweet and offers a bit of a mind trick that helps you reduce the sugar in your actual coffee beverages. And so since we're putting this in the grounds themselves, it's going to be permeating a little bit of a cinnamon flavor and essence throughout all of our drinks, which is going to help everything right along. We've got that all together. It's nice and patted down. Now I'm going to add it right back to our Mocha Pot espresso maker. I'm going to screw the top on. Screw it on tight now. There's a lot of pressure is going to build up in this chamber. And then I just want to lastly place it right on this stovetop on medium heat. That espresso is going to take about 10 minutes to brew, maybe a little bit less. The only other things that we're making today, we're making 3 preparations of coffee. The first is going to be just a regular espresso drink. The next is going to be our Mocha Latte. And then finally, we're going to top it all off with a fancy smashy equivalent to what Starbucks would serve as a caramel Frappuccino. So now we're going to start working on the ingredients for our Mocha Latte. Today we're going to use just a whole milk for this demonstration, but you could really use anything that you like. This is what you would typically see used with an espresso machine for the steamer function. Because our Mocha Pot doesn't have that, we're just going to replace that functionality by warming our milk on the stove and then frothing it up with a special little device that I use. And now we have our little thermometer here. I'm just going to take my milk and go ahead and warm that up in our hand kettle here on about medium-low heat. We don't want to scald the milk. We just want to kind of slowly bring it up to temperature. Now I want to go over a few devices that I have laid out. I've got a frother. What this does is going to help us froth up our milk. I like to keep measuring cups on hand, a cocktail shaker. We've got our homemade caramel right here. And lastly, we've got a piping bag for our whipped cream. Now, for espresso, served hot. So you never really want to serve espresso in a cold cup. What I'm going to do is just start this heating up with some hot water, which I'm going to just empty out right before we serve this to our guests. So I can see now, and I can smell and tell that I just lifted up the lid on our Mocha Pot espresso maker, and it is completely done brewing. So I'm going to move that off of the heat. Our milk here is still coming up to temperature. And the next thing I want to work on is just the chocolate for our Mocha Latte. Right now I'm just going to take 1 square of this chocolate and take that down by another half. I only want this much chocolate in my actual cup. And I'm going to just start breaking this up in my cup. If I wanted to, I could shave this, I could grind it. I could, like I said, I could use the syrup, but those syrups require a lot of additional sugar, stabilizers, and different things that will ultimately not make for a very healthy product when I go to serve it to myself or my guests. So what I'm going to do here, without measuring too much, I'm just going to pour the hot espresso in and start getting it to melting our chocolate. I'm going to get that about 1/3 up the way the side of the glass. We've already warmed up our espresso cup. So this is our double shot espresso made with our Mocha pot espresso maker. I want to work on chilling down our coffee component so that it doesn't necessarily mess up our beverage when we go to blend it for our iced drink. So I'm going to take our hot espresso and I want to kind of put about maybe 5 or 6 cubes of ice just so I can get a rapid chill on this. You want to shake this as rapidly as possible until it feels cold in your hand. The next thing we want to add to this is our caramel jar, and you know it's oozy. I probably should have turned this upside down a little earlier. So I'm just kind of eyeballing 2 tablespoons, and that's going to be enough for that. I want to get that started in my blender first. Get the caramel and the coffee combined before I even go to the next phase. I want to now add our ice. Now my blender is old school, but it works really, really well. Our drink is blended, our coffee and caramel are all blended in there. I'm going to start with our glass. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of caramel in here, just to kind of decorate. Layer that. I'm going to layer this with a little bit of caramel in the center. Place this on the saucer. And then lastly, I'm just going to pipe out the rest of our whipped cream right on top of our beverage. And finally, we want to complete our mocha latte. Now we had our milk here that's on the stove and has come up to temperature. And I want to place all of our milk into our beaker here. And this is more just to kind of show you all. And this is going to help me double the content of this milk and also get a nice frothy foam for our mocha latte beverage. So we started right at about a little over 8. Now we've got quite a bit more. We're adding air, we're building it up. There we go. So this is our mocha latte. Just going to top this with our foam. Just add a little bit of cinnamon sprinkled right on top just so whoever's drinking this knows that there's a little bit of cinnamon in this. That's always a good idea. So here we have our coffee house favorites. We have our espresso, our blended coffee drink with caramel and whipped cream, and we also have our classic mocha latte. I hope you'll try this recipe at home and let me know how it worked out for you. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I want you to retweet this and repeat this video. If you liked what you saw here, make sure to watch future and past episodes of The Counter at www.thecountertv.com. And if you really want to support, make sure to make a donation to the PayPal link. That is www.paypal.me/jkh2. I thank you all for tuning in, and I hope to see you next week.